The importance of officials cannot be ignored within continuity of Chinese history. Men from all tiers of society are passionately in pursuit of official degrees. They are required to learn 4 books and 5 classics since their early ages in order to pass the most competitive national examination. Only those who achieve remarkable success in this literary competition are allowed to gain degrees and selected to work for the government. The most intelligent people who are at top 3 ranks among the examinees may have possibilities to closely serve their majesty in the palace. They might work as representatives to implement a certain decision made by the court. They could be emperor's personal tutors to instruct Chinese classics. They could be an intelligence agency to provide thoughtful suggestions to the emperor. They are elites of the society, assistants of the emperor, and instructors of imperial family, actively involving into crucial political decisions and constantly create a brilliant Chinese history. Emperor might treat those knowledgeable men differently that always show a changeable and ambiguous attitude towards them. Today, our topic is about the relationship between emperors and his officials. Hongwu Emperor, the founding father of Ming Dynasty, showed a negative impression towards his bureaucracy. At the beginning, he restored the civil service examinations to recruit more intelligent young men. But in some years, he did not hold the exams, that the skill of his court was subject to restraint. And he established a very strict rule to constrain officials' behaviors. Meanwhile, he completely abolished the position of prime minister and set up an interlocked administration system to guarantee stability of his court. Serving a more functional and practical purpose, the relationship between the Hongwu Emperor and his court is similar to employer-employee relation. Zhu Di, one of eminent sons of Hongwu Emperor, is the 3rd successor of the most flourished empire in 14th century. Like his father, he had an irritating connection to his subordinates, but based on different reasons. Since Zhu Di usurped Zhengwen's throne, officials who highly emphasized conventional moral standards intensely disliked this new emperor and passively imposed his orders. Without a supportive court, Zhu Di heavily enhanced 2 systems, the eunuchs and the investigative police force, in order to strengthen his own political power. This case suggests that lack of effective support from administration offices and the deficiency of mutual trust enlarged the distance between he and his court. A close tie between ruler and officials, to some degrees, may confine each other that emperor might alienate from those intractable subordinates. In general, Wanli Emperor had a bittersweet relationship with his officials because of his 2 opposite attitudes toward them. On one hand, he could rely on them and show truly respect to his tutor. But on the other hand, like his ancestor, he drew a clear boundary of the court and only allowed a few trustable officials to report the most severe affairs and consult him with the confidentially assured. However, even those having privilege to meet with the ruler were under the watchful eye of emperor's eunuchs. Such huge contrast could be verified by an interesting anecdote happened between Wanli Emperor and his chief great secretary, Shen Shixing. When Shen suggested the issue of the heir apparent is a matter of public concern, Your Majesty had better settle it. The sooner the better. The emperor refused to educate his eldest son, who should be the heir based on the august ancestor instruction written by the founding father of Ming Dynasty, and find an excuse to avoid the issue. Shen patiently point out the reasons for the eldest son's education. After a back and forth conversation between the tutor Shen and the Majesty, the emperor passively accepts Shen's suggestion that let the eldest son to go to school. The story has not ended yet. The emperor does not completely trust his tutor as well, and secretly dispatches a eunuch to observe whether or not Grand Secretary Shen was showing any sign of delight upon being told that he was meet the eldest imperial son. This action cannot be considered as truly aboveboard behavior. Thus, the so-called mutual trust between the ruler and his officials is excessively fragile to sustain in a harmonious circumstance. This story leaves a glimpse of Wanli Emperor's inner words and reflects only a tip of iceberg of his unstable sensation. Ultimately, his passive resistance makes him almost disconnect with his officials. It is no wonder that Dardis suggests Wanli, like several of his predecessors, found dealing with the civil bureaucracy unpleasant. Unlike the ruling house of previous dynasty, the imperial family of Qing dynasty is much more energetic and open-minded on developing a more commercialized society, building a stronger banner system-based military, and enlarging a much broader territory. Such prosperity could not be achieved without a relatively stable, amicable connection, and constantly achieved interaction between the emperor and his court. However, being the son of heaven, completely relying on his subordinates is a dangerous sign, so that keeping the entire court under the watchful eyes is inevitable, and to some degree is necessary. Qing emperors are masters on dealing the relation to his court. They understand the way to governing the gigantic nation by exploiting officials' workforces, meanwhile keeping them under the eagle eye. For example, in order to efficiently work with his court and receive the most secret and fresh news from different regions across the entire country, Kangxi originally innovated a new system that, as the historian suggested, allowed officials to write memoirs, locked it in a box, and delivered by a special messengers directly to the emperors. Unlike the older system, the creative system opens opportunities for the lower status officials directly reporting to the Qianlong Emperor. It allows Qianlong Emperor to keep his ears close to the ground in the day-to-day job of governing China. In this case, no avoidance, no suspiciousness. The relation between the emperor and his court via the new system seems much peaceful than it of rulers in the previous dynasty. Nevertheless, there is a crucial agency named the censorate in the palace playing a role as a Ming eunuch. They serve as a watchdog of the imperial family, keeping eye on all activities of officials and detecting every piece of news and fact relevant to the emperor personally. The existence of this special office more or less reflects the superficial connection between the emperor and his court. The historian says, for Qianlong, as for earlier emperors, the only political tie that mattered, the only one that could be group permitted, was the individual tie of loyalty between him and each official. Qianlong forbids officials who have same opinions gathering at clique serving for their purpose, since those are loyal to a certain interest, not him. He, as the sovereign lord, standing on God's perspective, keeps eye on every official in the court in order to prevent his authority from any potential threats. Political insider might be unable to fully understand their majesty, because there is always an invisible distance which intentionally made by the emperor. They serve as paid employees to their employer, if people use modernity to judge this relationship. hiring agents to subordinate to him, behalf him, and act with his authorization. Emperor admires those people who truly loyal to him and heavily punishes those who betray him. Although he respects his tutors and patiently listens to their instructions as a diligent student does, he clearly knows how to adjust this ambiguous relationship with them. Destiny of officials having a happy ending or a miserable finale is momentarily decided at the emperor's whim.